your grades, no matter how they are tested or where they're weighted, do not define who you are. They're not going to define your success later in life. Yes, I understand they can have impact on you. Financial impact, they can impact, how you're going to feel and maybe even impact what school you're going to go to in the next year, but they're not going to define you. And that is the most important thing that I want you to take away. Because here's the thing, and this is another Jim Rohn quote that I just have to think, but it's like, you're not a tree. You're not second place. Just because you got an F does not mean that an F is who you are, or an F is what defines you, or what you're capable of, or what you're able to do. I've told it time and time again. Every single time I gave a student an F, I know it was a tough pill to swallow. And students, they really did not want to be sitting next to me and talking to me. But the most important thing that I tried to have them do is like, look me in the eye. Please take this in. This grade does not define you. You earned this F. Always try to make sure if a student got an F, that it was not something that just happened from one grade or one test score. It was something that we tried to avoid as much as possible. We tried to do everything we could to overcome it, but that grade was earned, and it happens. I failed a class, I failed, tests, I failed quizzes. You have to be able to understand, you have to be able to overcome things. But just because something happens does not mean that is the end all be all. Even when a student failed my course, they failed pre-calculus or algebra or whatever else, I said, you know what? You can go back online, take it over the summer. It's possible. Or I might see you the next year. And that was a really awkward beginning of the year sometimes, especially for students that, we might not have seen eye to eye. But I always respected students that came back. I have a couple students in mind that I remember when they walked in my classroom, I failed them. Wasn't really a great back and forth that we had the year prior. They accepted what happened and they said, Miss McLogan, I didn't do as well as I needed to last year. I kind of swallowed that pill. I understand. And I'm ready to pass your class. And as a teacher, I don't think there's been ever a better feeling that I had that because I remember speaking with that student, talking to them, getting the F. And I remember tears would be coming down and they'd be sad and they, wanted to cry. And, you could tell they were very, very upset because they had just failed my course and they had to suck that up and just realize it was not going to define who they could be. They could still be successful in life. They could retake the class. And that's the biggest thing that I want to, get with students is a lot of times students feel that they're not math people or that they're not good at math, right? And they had a bad experience. They failed, whatever may be the case, or they didn't understand math, whatever happened in their history. But that does not have to define who you are or what you're capable of. And that's the thing I love about math. Actually, that's the thing I love about rugby. When I first started playing rugby, I was 21 years old. And what amazed me about rugby was I remember when I was in high school and it was my senior year, I'm playing football. I just remember being leaving that locker room, one, very emotional because it was the last time because I wasn't big enough, strong enough, fast enough to go to the next level and play college football. And, it was a big moment, for me. And, I loved playing football. I loved all those years. And I was like, all right, I got a halftime left. This is it where I'm going to hit, you take advantage of that. And then I remember I started playing rugby and I'm like, holy crap, this is actually better than football. Sorry for all you football fans. But actually, guess what? There's guys that are playing rugby in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s. This is a lifetime sport. So no matter what I wasn't able to achieve in my younger days, that did not define me. I still had the opportunity, through rugby, and there's many other sports just like that I was not going to let that define me. I still got to be able to hit some people and had some good years playing rugby. And I think that's very, very important. I tell people all the time when they're like, I failed math or I wasn't good at math. I'm like, guess what? Just because you finished math in high school or you finished math in college or whatever may be the case, especially now with technology, guys, your previous failures does not define who you are, what you're capable of. And I love hearing from especially older students that have gone back to learn math. Maybe if I found one of my videos or an explanation and things start clicking for them. And they're like, I didn't understand it now. I'm like, of course, that's fine. You're in a different perspective is everything and context is everything, right? You were in a different frame of mind. So many different things were going on why you didn't understand it before. But that doesn't mean you can't understand it now. That doesn't mean you can't understand it next year, right? So do not let a bad grade, do not let a failed class or a course or exam define who you are or what you're capable of, because people are not going to be asking, oh, how'd you do on a math test? Or, let's compare grades, right? As I mentioned, I think grades are very, very important. When I was looking for my daughter, she was in kindergarten. I want to know, how did she do? She took the exam. We had to compare her against other students. Did she need more help? Obviously, I have no idea as far as kindergarten, what she was supposed to be knowing at certain stages. So she was taking a test every quarter and we were monitoring their progress. I think testing like that is important. I also think testing subjective testing from her teacher is also very important because I know as a teacher, I could get better context sometimes to students if how they were learning compared to what they did in a district assessment. But yeah, sometimes students would shock me and I'll be like, oh, wow. I'm like, I didn't think that student was going to understood, math that well. And they'd knock it out of the park. I'm like, good for them. Good for you. They might've struggled inside my ecosystem, but they could show that they had some certain understanding with the course and the curriculum. I think the problem that I come down to with grades is, people just feel like they define them because we put so much weight on those grades. And I don't think that's fair to the teachers. I don't think that's fair to students. And I don't think that's fair to parents, because I've had people that want to get out of my class because they don't get the grade they want. I've had students stay after school and cry and say, Miss McLogan, I am not leaving until you change this grade. They put so much weight and so much anxiety and stress over their grades that it impacts how they're going to be able to work on them. Like, thankfully, my daughter, she's in kindergarten. She has no idea grades or how she was going to do was going to mean anything. Like, she just took the test, right? But as the more we get to know it, the more we get to compare people and look at what's going on, we put all the stress and anxiety on it. And I feel like one of the biggest tasks that I had when I was, talking about getting students prepared for like this exam season or finish off their grade was the anxiety, like, calm down. Like, I know students put so much pressure on themselves because they feel like they absolutely have to nail everything out of the park. And if they don't, they feel like their life is over, that they cannot be successful, or they're not going to have further opportunities. And that is absolutely not the case. And it's also very important that I want you to know, just because if you did good, do not settle there, because that's one of the biggest mistakes that students can make, is they feel like if they get an A or they feel like they pass a class, like they're done. They can relax. And no, you always have to have your foot on the pedal of improvement. Always try to keep on improving yourself. And I'll give you one other quick story that I just remember from when I was in college. Like, I was struggling, right? So first test in college in intermediate algebra, which was like a college algebra class, I failed. Or I didn't fail the class. I failed the first test. So it'd be very easy for me to say like, well, being a math teacher is not out for me. I'm just going to give up because I'm not good at math. I think everybody would be like, yeah, you're supposed to be in calculus as a math teacher freshman year, and you're in intermediate algebra, which is 2 classes down, and you failed the first test. So yeah, you're probably not smart enough to be a math teacher. So probably give it up. It's probably going to be too much work. Find something else. If anybody would have told that to, like, they're probably like, yeah, your logic sounds right? So to let that one test, that one grade define me, people probably would have accepted it. But for me, thankfully, I was like, no, I want to become a math teacher. So I'm going to have to work through this. I'm not going to allow this test to define me, right? And I didn't. So I overcame it. I worked my butt off. I earned my math degree, became a math teacher. And sometimes people still think, like, because I've made so many math videos, that I'm such a smart math person, which, I'm not. I'm just a normal person that has taught for many years and has that kind of experience that comes through my teaching, right? But yeah, I'm not a math savant by any imagination. I had to work really hard. And I remember one of my classes, I think it was advanced algebra. And I remember there's this one kid and he was just very like cocky. He always had 100 and stuff like that. And then I remember we were taking this test. And so I'm in this class, I'm like struggling. Like, I'm barely trying to get myself above a C. Like, really, really difficult for me. I'm working my tail off. And I remember this kid, like, he wouldn't pay attention to class. He was just so cocky about his grade. He always had 100s on like every growing up. And he was, I would probably took that class when I was a junior, and he was like, I don't know, sophomore maybe, or, freshman. I have no idea. He was smart, really, really smart kid. But I remember he got like a C or a D on one of these tests. I got a B. He settled for that grade. Like, he thought, oh, I already know everything. I'm, so smart. I'm not going to work as hard as I should. He took his foot off the pedal of improvement. He stopped applying himself, right? He got happy with just always constantly getting A's, where he had. And once he got that initial shock of like getting a D or C, I remember he dropped the class. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, he immediately let that bad grade define what he was, and like, he could not handle it. And I've seen so many students happen where they've never gotten a C before. They've never gotten a B or a D. And that one time it happens, they don't know how to accept it. You got to get over the fact of letting one grade have that much impact over you. It sucks to get a bad grade. It sucks to fail or to get a C or a D, but you have to understand, you have to swallow it. You have to analyze what went wrong. How can I fix it and get better at it? Don't settle if you just get those good grades. To be like, okay, I'm going to be okay. This advice is not for me. No. You always have to be improving. So hopefully this was helpful advice. It's something that happens time and time again that I have with students, especially at the end of the year, where we kind of like finalize the grades and we have to like sit with each other, after grades have been defined, and they're like, all right, I got 2 weeks. Mr. McLogan already gave me this grade that I don't want. Still have to hang out with him, in his class. Let me see what else I need to do to like improve that grade, which, man, I really hated. That was like 2 weeks of just badness. But either way, hopefully guys, after listening to this video, you are not going to let any grade define who you are or what you're capable of.